two, three, and.
Welcome everyone to Real Talk, Real Change. And this is where we talk real conversation, real growth, real truth, and just real talk. And my guest I have on here tonight, I'm excited. I'm excited, y'all, because she has some really good information, some stuff. She has testimony, she has her journey to share. And I haven't been knowing her for that long. As a matter of fact, I actually have been following her here on TikTok because her journey that I've been following with her is just like it was so touching to me. It was touching to me, and I wanted to be able to have her on where she can share her story, with everybody else and to be an encouragement to someone else, because we all can use and need encouragement at times. So I am going to let her introduce herself to you all. And after she does that, then I'm just gonna go ahead, ask her questions, and then she's gonna just take it away, y'all. She's gonna take it away. So thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I really appreciate it, because like I said, we haven't known each other that long. We just follow each other here on TikTok. But you know what? God bring people into your life for a reason. So I just want to thank you again for taking that time this evening to be on with me. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for everyone who's tuning in and who's listening to us. My name is Keisheia Reginal. And on TikTok, I go by love wins underscore not cancer, Kai and Bloom. And so that is who I am. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So let's just get right into it. So you can just kind of go. You can kind of just start. Okay. Well, first of all, let me just because I got some questions. I got some questions written down here.
Okay.
So first thing I want to know is, so can you take us back to the moment you first learned about your diagnosis and what you remember most about that day?
Yeah. Wow. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in April of 2025, and I was diagnosed a week after my husband and I had just gotten married. And so, the thing that I remember most about my diagnosis was just being in a total state of shock. I couldn't believe it. This was my first mammogram. And so I was not expecting the results to come back saying I had stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma, but that's where I was at.
So what exactly is that type of cancer? That type of breast cancer?
Yeah, so breast cancer, oh my God, I've learned so much. So there's
Yeah.
so many different types. So invasive ductal carcinoma is a breast cancer that starts in your ducts, your milk ducts,
Mhm.
and that's what is the most common type of breast cancer you have, right? But there's so many other things that go with it. So I had invasive ductal carcinoma. Mine was stage 2. The other thing that was different about my breast cancer was the fact that I was hormonal positive. So mine was estrogen positive and progesterone positive, my breast cancer. And so that makes a big difference because it changes the way that you receive treatment. If you have hormonal based breast cancer, you will have to be on some type of hormonal therapy
Mhm.
after your treatment. And also, it changes things as well as if you have hormonal breast cancer, even how your treatment and when that you do surgery.
Mhm.
Usually, women who are triple negative breast cancer, and what triple negative means that it's not hormone positive.
Mhm.
So it's not estrogen positive. If it's not progesterone positive, it's not, and it's HER2 negative. So with those types of breast cancer, unfortunately, those are harder to treat because they don't respond to hormone therapy.
Mhm.
So I thankfully did not have triple negative. I had hormonal positive, and so my treatment began with me having surgery. I had the lump. I decided to have the lumpectomy surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and in that surgery, that's when they just remove the tumor. So they
Oh,
go in, they cut you under your arm, and they go in and they remove the cancerous tumor from your breast. After I had the surgery, we found out at first they thought I did not have any lymph nodes involved, but
mm-hmm.
at surgery, they found out that they removed two of my lymph nodes and they found out one was positive. And so with that positive, with having one positive
Mm-hmm.
lymph node, they decided that they wanted to do chemotherapy. So then I went on to chemotherapy.
So let me ask you a question. So what is the difference when they say stage one, stage two, stage three, stage four? What's the, because like I said, I really don't know, much about it. I hear about it and, I see people say I'm stage one or I'm stage two or so can you just enlighten me? Because I really don't know what it is when people say one or two or three or I just
Yeah,
kind of cancer. It was, the stages I just didn't know.
yeah. So let me say this first of all cancer sucks. It doesn't matter what stage you are
Right.
in.
Exactly.
But stage one and two is considered early stage cancer. And so what
Okay.
they base it by is how much the cancer has spread. So you can actually be anywhere from stage 0 and to 5, from my
Mhm.
understanding. And so usually with stage 0, that means it's really small, and a lot of times it's based on tumor size.
Right.
So my tumor size was like right at 2 centimeters was the
Okay.
size. So that's what determined what stage it was. All of that matters. You have a stage and you have a grade as well. And
Right.
so in stage one, if it would have been stage one, if it would have still been inside the milk duct. So I was stage two because it had started to leave out of the origin of where it originated, which was my milk duct, and it had started going into some of the surrounding tissue. So that also is what makes it stage two. Stage two, and then when you go to stage three, is when it has traveled completely outside of where it originated it. So, for
Okay.
example, if you had breast cancer, stage three would be that now it's outside of your breast and now maybe it has traveled to
Oh,
underneath your arm, or you have a lot of lymph nodes involved and then you have a larger size. And then stage four is when it has metastasized, and that means that it has spread to distant areas of your body, meaning that maybe if your stage four is now in your bones. And also, stage four, unfortunately, means that you can't be cured. Once you get to stage four, you're no longer curable because your cancer is in places that they can't operate, whether that be your bones or, some people
mhm.
have it travel to your brain. And that's something that I didn't even know because I didn't understand that when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, a lot of times when it travels, you don't know where it travels to, and it can give
Right.
you another form of breast cancer. So, for example, if you are diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer and unfortunately the disease progresses and it
Mm-hmm.
moves to your uterus, and now that you'll be considered stage
Wow.
3 because it's moved to another part, but then it's not that you had uterine cancer, it's still
Right.
that you
Gotcha.
had breast cancer. That's still your diagnosis, even though it's traveled to another part of your body. And that's something that I did not know.
Wow. See, and I didn't know that. Like I said, I would hear about the different stages, but I really didn't. I didn't really know. And of course, like I was telling you before, I was diagnosed, but I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So that's more or less like with the plasma cells in your blood, in your bones and stuff. So I really, and that was new to me too. But that's for another day. So,
Yeah.
so listen. So how did you cope mentally as far as when you found out and just kind of you can just kind of share how it just went for you for the journey as you found out and
I was scared to death. I am a woman of faith, And a lot of people think that, oh, if you have faith, that means you just trust God and you don't worry about anything. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. When I got my diagnosis, immediately I started thinking about my new husband. We have a son. He's 10. He's not my biological child, but I love him just
Exactly.
no difference there. So I'm thinking about, how does this affect my husband? How does this affect our son? I just got married. I'm going to leave here. Like, all those things, of course, go through your mind, right? It's that
Mm-hmm.
initial
Mm-hmm.
panic. It's that
Yeah.
initial sadness, grieving
Mm-hmm.
your life, fear, all of those things wrapped up into one. So, one of the things that I had to do was really lean hard into my faith. And
Yes.
so, when I got diagnosed, I remember immediately crying, but I didn't curse God, and I wasn't angry with God. I never was
Mm-hmm.
angry with God, but I didn't understand. And so one of my first things, people often say, "Oh, you're not supposed to question God. You don't ask God why." I don't believe in that. I believe in that if you have a personal relationship with God, just as any child does not understand something, they go to their father. So I went to my father and said, "Hey, what is the purpose behind this? Why am I going through this?" And what God spoke back to me really shook me to my core, and it really humbled me, because He said to me, "Did you not ask to be used as a vessel? This is how I
Right.
see fit to use you. You are meant to show people what it's like to go through the hardest times and still keep your faith. I
Yeah.
know you're strong enough to go through the journey." And that, I was like, "Well, God, you must think I'm stronger than I am, because I'm not strong enough for this." Like, that's what I immediately remember saying. Like, I'm not. You may think I'm strong enough, but I don't feel like I'm strong enough. But it really was that faith, and that's the only thing that got me through.
It-
One of the things you'll learn quickly when you have a cancer diagnosis is people do not show up for you how you think that they're going to show up for you, and there's a lot of disappointment in that. So I couldn't rely on family. I couldn't rely on friends to often support me how I felt like I should have been
mm-hmm.
supported. It was mainly me leaning into God, and me asking God to helped me through it. And one of the things I'll often say is, I stood on Isaiah, and by the stripes you are healed. And
That's
I
it.
recited that so much that I started believing it. Because at first, when I was saying it, it was words. It was I was looking for that, that belief that I'm going to make it through this, that I will get through this, that I am healed in the name of Jesus. And so I had to keep speaking it till I believed it. And that's what I did.
And that's just how it is, though. I mean, because like you said, faith comes by hearing, and by hearing, and by hearing. So that's true, though. And that's something that I always say: by His stripes I'm healed.
Yeah.
That's what He said. It's there, and he's not a man that he should lie. So His word is true. His word is true. So let me see. What I had so many questions on here for you.
Well, before we get to that next question, I want to, if someone is in the comments, and I want to say hello to everyone and thank everyone for
Go.
joining. And there's a viewer, I will not say their name just because you're going to post this somewhere else, and I don't know if they
Yeah.
want that information out there. So I will not say their name, but they said they are battling stage 3 cancer. And I want to tell them that you can get through this. By the stripes of God, you are
Yeah.
healed. Hold
He.
on to that. Say prayers over yourself till you start believing it, because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't believe it. And I know it seems like it's hard, but there is nothing that is too hard for our
No.
God. So I would definitely keep you in my prayers and pray that you get through
Yes.
this. I want to give you a testimony that I did make it through my battle. As of October of last year, there's no evidence of disease in my body.
Amen.
I just had a mammogram in February, and there are no signs of breast cancer. And that's not because of me and my goodness. That's all because of God. So,
That's
and
it.
I'm a believer. If He do it for me, He can do it for you. So I'm
That's
praying for you.
that's right. Because one thing about it, and that's why I say all the time, that God is no respecter person. Because if He did it for me, He'll do it for the next person too. He would definitely do it. And it really boils down to, you gotta believe it. You gotta believe it. Like you said, you was saying it, but you wasn't really believing it at the time. And that makes a difference, because you can confess things over and over and over again, but if you don't believe it, it's not going. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Nothing is
No,
going. And I'm here to tell you, I confess things over myself. I confess healing each and every day, regardless to whether if I'm still taking the treatment. It doesn't matter, because I know that by His stripes I'm healed already, already healed.
absolutely. And that's the absolute mindset that you have to have.
Right.
If you don't start speaking that over yourself to the fact that you believe it, then what good is it? I mean, like the Bible says, faith without works is dead, right? And
Right.
so that is what having faith is. People think faith is this thing where, oh, if I'm going through something, I can't be afraid. I can't think anything because I have faith. And that's not what faith looks like. Faith looks like I'm in the midst of the storm and I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm trusting God
But
still.
trusting.
And that's what faith is, and that's exactly where I was at. I mean, talking about my journey, I had just got married, was laid
Mhm.
off from a job, had just gotten a house, fully furnished a house. I mean, my whole world was collapsing, and if anybody had a right to lose their mind or to lose faith, I mean, if we're judging it by, I think I had every right to do that. But I couldn't do that because even despite of having that diagnosis, I knew that God has still been so good to me.
Yeah.
He still has been so good to me, and that you have to put things in perspective. And even in having a diagnosis, I could have not I could not gotten a mammogram, right? Because this was my very first mammogram I got
Oh
diagnosed.
wow.
Very
Oh.
first one. And I really didn't have any typical symptoms. A lot of women have a lump. I did not have a lump that you can feel. That's not a symptom that I had. What I had was a small indentation on my left breast. And I remember seeing it probably 2 years prior to my diagnosis. And I went to my primary at that time and said, hey, I have this indentation, but at that time I could only see it if I raised my arm, right? So I went, she checked me out. She said, I don't even see the indentation. She said, I don't believe that it's anything for you to worry about. She said, you'll be turning 40 soon. When you get that age, just get your mammogram. Like she shoved it off as if it was nothing. And it actually was something because at the beginning of 2025, that indentation started getting a little bit bigger. And I still wasn't thinking that it was breast cancer. At that time, I had large breasts. So I was like, well, maybe my breasts are just getting larger. And that's kind of, I did not think it was breast cancer. And to give myself that peace of mind, I did go and get that mammogram. And, turns out it was. But going back to my point, I still praise God in the process because what if I didn't listen to that little voice and I didn't go and I didn't get a mammogram? It was already stage 2. It could have progressed on to stage 4 where it was no longer curable. So I still have to give God all the honor, the glory, and the praise because at least it was found where it was treatable and I could be cured. And I know some people, listen to this may say, well, I have a disease and it's not curable. Where's God in that? And to those people, I want to say God is still in the midst. Even if that you receive a diagnosis and it is incurable, and that's what doctors say, God still has the final say so. I have come across so many beautiful people who are diagnosed with cancer on my journey and talk with them, and a lot of them have been diagnosed and they are 13, 14 years with stage 4 diagnosis. So again,
Right.
God still has the final say so. So no matter what your situation looks like, you have to know that God still has you here. He has you it for a purpose and for a reason. And there, a lot of times you're meant to share your journey because you don't know how you can help somebody else. And even if they're not going through health struggles, a struggle is a struggle, whether it's unemployment, whether it's losing a loved one, it's grief. And no matter what those things are, we still have to learn to always lean on God because that's the person who can see us through.
That's it. That and that's so true. And and I think too when people, when they first hear the word cancer, they automatically think of death.
Yeah,
When that's and I'm not gonna even lie because I didn't when I first heard it, I was just like I didn't think of death, but I was thinking like, okay, what in the world? What
yeah,
like what? It just kind of it threw me. It really did. It threw me because I was like, this can't be. But um, it's not the end. And if for
no,
anybody who's listening or who's watching, it's not the end. It's not the end. And not so much because they have so many different medicines and stuff like that, which they do, but still it's not the end. Because one thing,
no,
like you said, faith, that's it right there. That's the number one. And I truly believe that God put these doctors and stuff here for a reason. He put them here for a reason. They can
mhm,
tell us what the situation is, what the diagnosis is, but at the end of the day, God, it's his report that I believe. You know
no.
what I'm saying?
And really, this is a spiritual thing, and the enemy wants you to think that. He
Yeah.
wants you to think it's the end. He wants you to feel defeated. He wants you to throw in the towel. He wants you
Yeah.
to say, "I succumb to this." And a lot of people believe that oh well, you have this diagnosis, you're diagnosed, but I don't claim that. Don't say that. Don't say that you have that. And I had so many people tell me that, and like,
Yeah.
don't claim that with your mouth. And I said, well, how am I trusting God for healing when I'm saying I don't have something? That doesn't make sense. I know that this is what my diagnosis is, but I'm trusting God that He's going to heal my body and He's going to bring me to the other side of this. And that's exactly what He did. So, I'm not telling anybody what they should do in their situation because what works for you may not, work for me and vice versa. But for me, I believe in calling a thing a thing. The thing that I had was a cancer diagnosis, and what I know that I did not want in my body is cancer. So I rebuked it in the name of Jesus, and I asked God to heal my body of cancer. I called it what it was. And sometimes people are so quick to say, "Oh, I don't do labels. Let's not put a label on this. I don't do
Mhm.
labels." No, I'm gonna call a thing. So when I take the authority of God, when He's speaking against this thing, He knows exactly what it is.
Right, exactly. And and that's another thing too, even, because like I know you had said before that you really didn't have you knew who was with you and who wasn't with you basically. You really didn't have so you didn't have any family or anything as far as because I know for me I have like girl, I thank God for my village. I
Mhm.
had so many people, family, certain friends. Because my thing was this. I needed people that was gonna be able to pray with me and pray for me.
Mhm.
And I'm not someone that really, I need people that I know that can pray. And
Yeah.
having people with you and that village of people, that makes a difference. That makes a
It,
difference.
it does. It makes a huge village. And so like when I say that I didn't have support, let me put it to you in this way. So like first of all, of course God was there. He walked me through
Exactly.
this thing.
Hmm.
But my husband was very supportive, as
Right.
supportive as he could have been as a husband, right? But we're in Texas. Our family is in Mississippi. I did not have anyone. I had just moved here. I did not have that. I didn't have anybody pulling up, hey, here's a cup of soup. I know you just got out of chemo.
Right.
It was me and my husband figuring that out. Now, did I have people who prayed for me? Yes. I'm not going to lie about that. I had a multitude of people praying for
Hmm.
me. A lot of times, I'm so checked in with the higher power that when people pray for me, I can feel it a lot of times. And so
Yeah.
I felt their prayers and I did have that. But as far as physical people
Physical.
there,
Okay.
no, I did not have that. As far as the support of I put it this way. If one of my loved ones was diagnosed with cancer and how I would show up for them and be there for them, I did not have that. I did not have people. A lot of times I think that I'm always the strong person. So everyone looks for me to be their rock and to be strong. So they're like,
Mhm.
oh, Kai got it. Kai got it. She's the ultimate warrior. She has it, you know. So it wasn't a lot of let me really just check in on her and ask her how she's feeling. Let me what can I do? You know, because a lot of times people make everything about finances and it really isn't
Yeah.
always a big thing like that. It's something smart. I would have been happy if somebody sent DoorDash, a Chick-fil-A to my house.
Right.
Like that would have
Right.
made a world of difference. And so you know, I that took me down a dark path. I'm not gonna lie to you. It really took me down a dark path because I started internalizing all that and I wouldn't do this for the I wouldn't do people like this. Why am I being done like that? And again, that was another way that the enemy tries to steal your
Yeah.
joy. So I had to learn to change my perspective and stop focusing on what I didn't have and start focusing on what I do have. And so, because there are some people who are in my same situation, at least I had a husband. Some people have completely
No.
nobody,
Right.
no physical human person there.
Right.
So
Right.
I really, you know, changed my perspective and, you know, looked at it a different way. And so I feel like that's important when you're going through anything. A lot of times our perspective can keep us in bondage and
Yeah.
you have to be set free from that. You have to change how you look at things. If you're looking at things from a negative lens, you're going to receive negative results.
Mhm.
You have to
Mhm.
look at it from a positive viewpoint.
And that's true. That's true. So after you found out and your, the treatments, how long was your treatments and what type of treatments did you have? I know you had like chemo, right? The chemo, of course.
Yes. So, and for me, like I said, I was stage two. And so once it passed to one of my lymph nodes, they took out two, but
Mm-hmm.
only one was positive. And they do a test that's called an onco type test. And what that test does is it determines if you will benefit from chemo and what that benefit will be. Because
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, when people got diagnosed with cancer, they were just passing out chemo to everybody whether
Right.
you would benefit from it or not, whether your body could sustain going through chemo or not, they just gave it to you. So now they have more genetic testing where they can look and see, hey, is this person a good candidate? So mine in that test, the oncotype score, they give you 0 to 100. And
Mm-hmm.
the closer your score is to 100, the more likely you are to benefit from chemo. And I don't really think most people will even get close to 100. My score was like 21, I believe, and that's
Mm-hmm.
right at the cusp of if you do need chemo or you don't. And so I needed chemo. And so for me, I did a ton of research. I didn't take anything my oncologist told me for face value. I researched every single thing
That's good.
because I had to make sure I was making the right decision for me. So once I found out, hey, we need to do chemo, there are so many different types of chemo. And so I was on the TC regimen of chemo. And at first, there was another version of chemo, which is AC chemo. And these are like the abbreviations of the names. And I think what I was on was Dexatol and Taxotere. Like that's the medical name of it, right? But it's called TC chemo. But when we originally talked about it, they were talking about the AC chemo, but the AC chemo can sometimes have harsher effects on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I advocated for myself and said, no, I don't think that's the best regimen for me. How about this TC chemo? And that's what we decided to go with. And because at the time of my surgery, when they went in, they did get clear margins, meaning that, and what that is when they take the tumor out. So this is the tumor. You know, they'll go around the edges of the tumor, like I think a centimeter or so, and take out those healthy cells too. And they
Mm-hmm.
will check them to make sure they're not cancerous. And that's how you get clear margins. So I did have clear margins. So they said they didn't think I needed a lengthy chemo treatment. So I did the TC and I only had 4 cycles. And I say I only had 4 cycles, but those 4 cycles were brutal. Chemo is very hard on the body.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have a port, and for those of you who don't know what a port is usually if someone was receiving chemo and they have to be on chemo for extended time, they'll
Mm-hmm.
do a patient procedure where they put a device underneath your
Mm-hmm.
skin that's
Mm-hmm.
directly in your vein. So when they give you the medicine, they can go directly in your vein and they don't have to poke you each time you get an infusion. Well, my doctor, because I only had four, said I didn't need a port. We did good the first infusion. The
Mm-hmm.
second infusion, a little rocky, but by the time we got to the third and fourth infusion, my veins were so damaged due to chemo because chemo damages everything in your body.
Right.
It was really hard for them to even get a vein to do the treatments, and then you're dealing with the fatigue, the mental part of going through chemo. I mean, it was really rough. And in my situation, I didn't work while I was going through chemo, but there
Mm-hmm.
are so many men and women, brave men and women, who still have to
So,
work while they're going through treatment. And I take that my hats off to them. I don't know how they do it. I know they don't have a choice and they didn't ask for it, but it's brutal on you. It's really
yeah.
a hard process.
Yeah. So did you was there a lot of sickness? Did you feel like did you get sick or with the nauseous and I mean what type of symptoms did you end up having? I know because everybody's
Um,
different.
Yeah, everybody is different. And that's what I tell everybody. If there's anybody listening to this and they're currently diagnosed with cancer, please don't listen to my story and think my story will be your journey.
Right.
Your journey could be 10 times better than mine. So I tell people that, you can't really compare because you don't know how your body is going to react to it until you go through it. And so I will say this, for the most part, my body tolerated chemo well. When I listen to stories of some other ladies and men that I follow that have gone through chemo and have been in the hospital, because their body rejected the chemo
Right.
medicine, they develop sepsis. It's so many things that can go wrong with chemo. But for me, I didn't have any of that. I wasn't hospitalized or anything, but the fatigue is real.
Yeah.
I mean, when I had my first chemo, it takes you really, after a chemo treatment, it takes really about anywhere from 4 to 6 days for your body to start feeling the effects of chemo,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm one of those people. I push myself to do everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm that way. So when I had my first chemo, I was determined. Cancer is not going to get me down. Chemo is not going to get me down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do whatever I got to do. So one of the things I read that drinking a ton of fluids help. So
Yeah.
each chemo infusion, I drank a gallon of water. Now I got up and peed 20 million times at each
But
infusion,
yeah.
but I drank that water, right? And so it was like day fourth of my first chemo, and I was like, oh, I still feel good. Oh, this is going to be a breeze. And one of the things that chemo causes, you have a shot, right? That's called a bone marrow growth shot, and the reason
Mm-hmm.
for this shot that you get during chemo is because it keeps your white cells high. When people go through chemo, their white cells get low, and that's like if they get a cold or something, like their body can't fight it off, and you can
Right.
get really sick and get hospitalized. So they say, oh, to when your bone marrow is growing, you will get pain, but you're supposed to take Claritin and ibuprofen, and that's supposed to help with it. And it was day 5, and I'm like, oh, I didn't experience the pain. I'm doing just fine. I remember like being outside pulling weeds, just doing all kind of stuff because I'm feeling like, oh, I feel
That's
okay.
good.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that night, I remember going to bed and my back started aching. I was like, oh, I'll just take another ibuprofen. I woke up in the middle of the night. The pain I experienced on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 25.
Wow.
Um, I was screaming to the top of my lungs. I was in so much pain. My husband got frantic. He didn't know what to do.
But
He ended up calling my oncologist at home. It was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It was like, do I have to take her to the hospital? She is in so much pain. And he was like, I mean, if you feel like that's what you need to do, go ahead and go. But she just needs pain meds. And that kind of made me mad because before I even got to that point, I asked for pain meds because I was like, I don't know how this pain is going to be, and I want pain meds. And my oncologist said at that time, my oncologist said, "Well, we'll see how you do. Just take the Claritin, and that should be able to help along with the oh my gosh, ibuprofen, chemo
Mm-hmm.
blind." That's another side effect of chemo. Like once you had chemo, you will try to think of a word and it just won't come to you. Like your mind will just go blank. But anyway, so once I experienced that pain and then I saw my doctor and I'm like, why was my pain so bad when you said it wasn't, going to be that bad? He said, well, because you're young and young people, their body produces more bone marrow quicker, so you have more pain. And then my question was, you knew my age when I started this, so if you
Right.
knew this, why didn't you prescribe pain medicine? Because I was in pain for 5 hours in agony, and that's something that I didn't have to go through. So I went through that. To get back to your question, the nausea, I did have that. I would have that a lot after chemo, but usually without a day or two, that will weigh off. I didn't really have much of an appetite. I didn't want to eat. You lose, I don't know if some people know this, but when you go through chemo, you lose your sense of taste.
Yes.
So I couldn't taste anything. So I would eat food and it was like I knew I was eating food, but it didn't taste like anything. So that made it even harder to eat because nothing tastes good. And then like
Right.
no, and then when your taste came back, it would taste off. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know how to explain it other than it just didn't taste right. Like I mean, you would taste something and it's like, oh,
It
you're
don't taste. I get it.
yeah,
I mean, because
yeah. It just didn't taste good. Like it would either taste too salty and it wasn't even salt in it, but it was just like the taste was like ugh, like
like
metal or something. It was
yeah, like metal or something. Yeah, water didn't even taste right to me. The
no,
water didn't taste.
no,
Yeah, a lot of stuff didn't taste. And even now to this day, some of the things that I eat still don't taste right. It's still
yeah,
kind of off. I
yeah,
can taste, but it's not like 100% like it was before.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So,
Mm,
but I thank God that I still can taste. So, right. So now that you are, so what stage are you now? Because I know you're cancer free. So, is
yeah.
there any like maintenance programs that you're doing now, or that you have to continue, or?
Yeah, what no one prepares you for with cancer is that your life is no longer the same. You never go back to that old version of yourself. Like that's never the old Kai is dead and gone. And I truly had to mourn that, accept that, have a funeral for her, and embrace this new version of myself. So even after treatment, for me, they said that I would need hormonal therapy for 10 years instead of 5 years. So what that looks like, what cancer took away from me was my ability to have children. I had just gotten married
Mhm.
and I could not have a child because um, the same, even if I was trying to freeze my eggs, right? So chemo damages your ovaries, and so sometimes people's ovaries come back after chemo, sometimes they don't. Because I was 41 at age of diagnosis, I mean my ovaries surviving, it was a slim chance. But also because I had hormonal breast cancer, I could not retrieve my eggs because the same
Mhm.
medicine they give you the same hormones they give you to produce ovulation to conceive was the same hormones that could cause my cancer to grow. So I couldn't do that.
Mhm.
So now I'm at the point. Well, let me back and say something. Um, Whenever you have a lumpectomy, which I did not know this because originally I wanted a double mastectomy and I wanted to have both of my breasts removed.
Mhm.
However, when I found out how long the process was, how long the surgery was, I had at that time, once I got diagnosed, my blood pressure spiked and was extremely
Mhm.
high. So they didn't even want me to be in surgery for the period of time for a full reconstruction. I would have to break it up into two
Mhm.
different surgeries because they were afraid for me to be under for 10 to 14 hours in the surgery.
Wow. Mhm.
So when I found out I would have to leave and then put spacers in and be like that for 6 months, I didn't want to do it. And then also with if you decide to have implants in, when you have a double mastectomy, you have no breast tissue there. And so usually breast implants are put behind your breast tissue, breast fat. But when you
Mhm.
don't have that and it's just a breast implant, you can see the rippling. And
Oh,
so every 5 to 10 years, you would have to get your implants replaced. And I'm like, who's gonna pay for me to get new breasts
right,
every five to
right.
10 months? And who wants to go into surgery every five? I'm not 5 to 10 months, every 5 to 10 years. So
Years.
I opted to not have that and just go with the lumpectomy because I was still a candidate. Well, what I not asked them, would I have to do radiation? And I was told, oh, it's case by case, so you'll have to see. That's not true. Usually, when a person has a lumpectomy, they tell you to get radiation because you still have your breast, and they want to kill any cancer cells
Mhm.
that may be there. But I didn't know that. So I got a lumpectomy. So when it came after I got done with chemo, they were like, let's talk about radiation. And that's your next step. So as always, I did my research. My breast cancer was on the left side. And I met with 3 different radiologists, and none of them could guarantee that the radiation wouldn't affect my heart. So I had to make a really hard decision. I had to look at what benefit did me having the radiation give me versus the damage that it could cause. And when I met with radiologists, they were like, "Oh, it just lessens your chance of reoccurrence by maybe 4 or 5%." And I'm like, "Then why am I doing that?" And
Right,
what nobody tells you also about cancer, once you have been diagnosed, there is absolutely nothing you can do that would guarantee that cancer cannot come back. You can do every single thing, and unfortunately, it still come back. So I decided not to have radiation, even though that's what was recommended for me. I had to do what was best for me, so I did not do radiation. But then I still needed hormone therapy, and what that is usually a shot and a
uh-huh.
pill that blocks the your body from making estrogen. But you know, the shot blocks your it shuts down your ovaries. But
Mhm.
the pill, there are other parts of our body that produces estrogen other than our ovaries, and so the pill keeps your body from making any type of estrogen in any form. And so that's the stage that I'm in now. But we've kind of hit, I won't say a hiccup, but I had to meet with my gynecologist because how I looked at it is this is a very expensive treatment, right? So if
Right.
I decide that I want to do the shot, if my insurance were to stop paying that monthly shot, you have to have it every month for 10 years, is $3,400. And
Yes.
so I said, that's crazy to me for a shot. So I said, well, maybe I should just have my ovaries removed, and then because they don't work now anyway, so might as well have them removed. So we're at that point of trying to, schedule surgery so I can have my ovaries removed, and then I would still have to take the pill daily
Mhm.
for the next 10 years, just so
Okay.
my body cannot make any estrogen.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just like I said, I was following you for a while and just following your journey and stuff, and and was so excited. Even when you had the you had the mammogram recently, when you said you was waiting, and I was just like, wow, I was the girl. I was praying for you anyways when you put it out there, and I was just like, yeah. Then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, God
Yeah,
did it again. He did it again. He did it
yeah,
again.
he did, and I appreciate every single person again who has followed my journey. I will say, like going back to like the feeling like not having support. TikTok became my safe haven. I
Mhm.
connected with so many beautiful women who had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was a sisterhood. I tell anybody
Yes.
the entry fee is too steep. 0 out of 10 would not recommend, but the sisterhood is amazing. And so many women reached out to me and told me, I appreciate you sharing your story. And I mean, we have cried together, we have prayed together, we have gone through this journey with me. So
Awesome.
even though in the beginning, you may not have talked to me directly, just your prayers, that energy
Yes.
surrounding me, uplifting me. I appreciate that, because I know that's what got me through some of my hardest days. But because people see this version of me, right? And they see what I've been through, and they see all this strength and you have all this faith. But what about the days when I laid on the floor and I cried, because of how my body felt, or when I was just tired of what I was going through and everything that cancer took away from me. So, I would tell anybody going through this, you don't have to be strong 100% of the time. It's
Yep.
okay to break. It's okay to cry. It's okay to
Mhm.
scream. It's okay to do all of those things.
Mhm.
But at some point, after you do that, you got to pick yourself back
Get
up and you
back
got to
up.
keep fighting.
Mhm.
Because if you, for 1 second, I'm not going to fight, this will consume you. It
Yeah.
truly will. It will take over you mentally, it will take over you physically. You have to keep that fight in you to keep yourself alive. And so I am truly thankful, like I said, to everybody who supported me, everybody, who prayed for me, who checked on me, all of those things. They helped me through my darkest hours. So, like I said, when you go through something like this, it changes your perspective. It
It
changes
sure
how you
does.
look at things. And it really changed me and how I deal with people. There are people now who can't call my phone. Don't call my phone, because when I was in my lowest, you weren't there for me. So act like you treat me the same way you did when I got that diagnosis, and don't call my phone. And I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I had people say, "Well, Kai, you're not that type of person. You have this big heart, and da da da." And I said, "That's part of the problem. I was given to so many people, and I was giving so much to myself, and that was not being given back to me. And then that leaves you an empty vessel. You have nothing left to give when you've given so much. So now I'm very protective of my peace, my time, what I give to people. I'm very careful with that. And anybody else that is going through this, I would encourage them to do the same thing. You can't extend yourself to everybody, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's true. But I can see why people would reach out to you, and because your story, your journey was just, it was just amazing. It was just something, because you were just so detailed, and you would let people know, this is what I'm going through now, this is what happened today. And I thought that was just wonderful, as far as the way you would just share that, because there's other people that's going through it, and not handling it like you are. And then some people are like, well, wow, how is she doing that? Like, you know what I'm saying? How is she even going like that? And then I just, like I said, when I saw it, I was just following. And I ain't gonna lie, when I didn't see you on there, I'm like, where's she at today? Where is she? I don't see her today. But
Yeah.
I know that, I know you was going through, or you had treatments or whatever it was, whichever it was that you were doing that particular day or whatever. And then, like you said, there's sometimes fatigue. I know fatigue was no joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It, Yeah, it really was no joke. And even after that, so many people feel after you get through treatment that you're back to yourself, and that's not true. I finished chemo in October. It's April, and I'm just getting to
Oh
be where
wow.
I can walk for long distances and not get short of breath.
Yep.
I can joke and, run around the house with my husband and our son and not be tired. Before, when I was going through treatment, like, I mean, we made a joke out of it, but my husband, like, like he might do something like, throw a sock at me and then take off running. He'd be like, I know you're going to be tired before you get out of bed, so you're not going to chase me. And he was right. Like, I would do my best, and then I'm breathing hard. Like, I could not literally do anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is a process, and one of the reasons why I share my story again. This is it's a God thing. I am an extremely private person. The old me wouldn't even be sitting here with you talking. I don't like people in my business. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't like showing myself to the world. I'm just very reserved in that way. But like I said, God told me to share my story. It was going to help people. And I know when I was going through it, I had to research everything on my own. And even when I did, there were not a lot of women who looked like me, who were melanated, who were
Mhm.
speaking. And that also plays a part in it because how we receive treatment, how our body deals to things is different. And
Mhm.
so I was going to be that voice to show other people this
Advocate.
is what it looks like. If you're going through this, this is what day one looked like for me. This is what day two after treatment looked like. Because my host was, my wish would be that there were no people coming behind me, right, who have
Mhm.
that diagnosis. But I
Mhm.
know that's not the case. I know there are going to be people who come behind me, and I wanted them to have more information, somebody to look to, an
Right.
advocate. I wanted to be that support that I felt like I didn't have. I wanted to extend that to other people. And so that's why I shared so much. And then, like, now it's kind of hard to share because I'm in the part of, getting my life back together. And
Right.
so you guys will be the first to hear this. I have some exciting news. I did get a job, so I'm going
Yeah.
back to work now. Yes. So
Girl, look at God. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, God don't be playing. God don't be playing because we had that conversation on the phone, me and you. And even before I seen you had post something on TikTok about a job, and if anybody knew of anything, whatever, girl, immediately I started praying for you immediate right then and there. And then when me and you talked the other day, I prayed again when we got off the phone. Girl, and look at that. Look
yeah,
at God.
it definitely was a God thing, and it really came down to not really one offer, but two offers, and I just thank God for it. And again, I did not. And I still don't say that I understand everything I went through and why I went through it, but I've been unemployed for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
And, that was truly hard being we had just purchased a home. And so, like, the guilt I felt with being a wife and I couldn't contribute anything. And, my husband never complained, but, it was thing after thing happening. He's a business owner, so he's a small business owner. So, when I was going through treatment, I think I only had four. He made two of them, and two of them he couldn't make because when he didn't work, he didn't get
Mhm.
any money. And so I'm like, go work. And once I had, one treatment, really truly, I'm like, I'm fine to drive myself and stuff like that. But we went through the gutter, like we went through the worst of the worst. And this man never once complained about paying a bill. He always said, he was gonna figure it out. But as a wife, I felt that burden like, man, if he would have chose another woman, if he would have married another woman, he wouldn't have he wouldn't be
Mhm.
going through this. He wouldn't feel the way that he's feeling, overworked, all these things. All that
Mhm.
craziness went through my mind,
That
and when I was telling him, he was
craziness.
like, I'm not thinking none of that. Like, where are you getting that from? I don't think that. But that's how I felt. So I'm glad that now I'm getting back to a more normal life, but it makes posting a little bit harder, right? Because I'm doing all these things. And so I'll think about, oh man, I need to post or I want to share this. And I have this video in my head and then I'm cooking dinner. And then before I know it,
Yeah.
it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, well, shoot, that didn't go as planned. So
Yeah. Yeah. But that's okay though, because now I know, girl. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm
yeah,
glad that God just opened up that door for you because I know how it is. I know I've been out of work a year and maybe about 3, 4 months now too.
yeah.
But God, he still provides.
And
It ain't
that's one
easy. Like that have been easy, but he still do.
and that's one thing that truly, I feel like I knew that, but that's the thing that God is really reminding me through this process. We put so much stock into owning a job and having a title and doing this and that, and really none of that is who we are as a
Mhm.
person. Like, what matters is our family. That's
That's
the thing, the constant that's in our life. And people think that God provides. Well, no, people think that a job provides for them, and that's
Right.
not the case.
That's
It's job that is God that is the provider. That's who
the
really.
source.
Yes,
Hmm.
he's the source because I look at it and we're looking at things on paper. I mean, I can't tell you how we made it. We didn't have any financial support from anybody. You know, people are always looking at us like, hey, give us this. Can you pay this? Can you do this? Can you do that? And, you know, we just
Right.
didn't have that financial support. And so, like, I remember going through it and, like, thinking to myself, like, there's no way that we're going to make it through this. We're going to end up losing this house. Oh, gotta do a little pause. We're going to end up, you know, you got to do a little, I guess, puzzle to stay on here. I
I
got
still,
to go
yeah, you still,
live.
yeah, I still
Yeah,
got you.
but yeah, I was thinking like, man, we're gonna, you know, lose our house, we're gonna lose our cars, and we're gonna lose everything. That's what I was thinking, but I was prepared for that. If it happened, I'm like, God bless us with it one time, He'll bless us with it again. But it really, I mean, we did not miss a lick. I mean, down to nothing was ever turned off. We ate every day. I mean, God truly provide, and
Yeah, well.
you know, and I'm not saying it like it's a lot monthly that we have to come out for bills. And so the fact that we didn't miss anything every single month, God kept providing. And it was really getting here to the end where I was like, all right, this is the last little bit of my savings. Something is going to happen. God showed up. And I felt like that was his way of saying again, once again, child, didn't I tell you I
I
had
got you.
someone who's going to take care of you? I
Uh-huh.
am the source, not a job. It's
That's
me.
right.
If you just keep your faith in me, it will happen. So I could tell anybody, you know, I'm not telling you about something I heard. I'm telling you about what I know for a
That's
fact.
it.
You
So,
could be down to the lowest. I mean, it's like everything was coming at us. Like I said, my husband's a small business owner. He had a work van. He got it. He only had that work van for about a year and a couple of months. The motor went out in it. He did not want to fix it, so ended up getting another van, and the motor went out in that one too.
wow.
So it's like, you know, God was truly like, you know, testing us. And one of the things that I always believe in and I still hold on to, and I hope somebody here, you know, needs to hear this and it helps them. Often, before you receive a major breakthrough, you
Mhm.
have to go through a season of testing.
Ooh,
Look
girl.
at Job. He lost everything. Look at what he went through. And he
Mhm.
never did once curse God. And so another thing that kept me going, that was always in the back of my mind is, God, I know you're testing me for something. Please let me just hold on and infuse me with the light of the Holy Spirit, because sometimes I feel like throwing in the towel. And
Mhm.
that's real. And God knows me. He made me. So he already knows how I
Mhm.
feel, what I think. But you have to keep yourself reminded of that. When you go through a season of uncertainty and everything falling apart, it's because
Mhm.
God is going to give you with something greater. He never takes something away from you and doesn't bless you with something better. And so sometimes you got to be okay with letting stuff go. You can't hold on to materialistic things. You can't hold
That's
on to relationships, jobs, anything. Because
mhm.
if it's meant to be, and God has something better for you, and He takes that away, He's going to make sure you see that better.
Right. That's so true. That is so true. That is so true. And you know, I'm just so thankful that you took this time. You took the time to be on here with me and to share your
Mhm.
story and to encourage people. It blessed me, and I know that when people watch the replay or whoever was on here, that it blessed them as well. And I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me on
Yeah,
here
I
this
thank
evening.
you. I thank you for having me. I thank you for reaching out to me. And again, I thank you for all of the support that you've given me. And I want to say that I see there are a lot of ladies on here that have been on this breast cancer journey with me, and I see them commenting. I want to say to each and every one of you ladies, I love y'all so much. Y'all helped
Uh
me
oh.
through the hardest times of my life. So even for those of you who are still fighting, Know that just because I'm healed, I have never stopped thinking about you. I will always pray for you. I will always pray that you get your healing too, because I know how
Yeah.
hard it is to fight. And
Yes.
I just love y'all so much because this is a thing that nobody understands what it's like to go through this battle until you have
Yeah.
gone through it, and it's hard. I mean, it is the absolute hardest thing that I have ever done, but I went through the hardest thing I have ever gone through, and God got me through that. So I know that he's a healer. I know he can
Yes,
heal
he is.
everyone else, and I know that if he do it for me, he can do it for you too. You just got to keep holding on to faith and trust in God. And no matter what the enemy tells you, because he will get in your head. He will tell you, oh, this is what's going to take you out of here. You don't have time. And you have to rebuke him. I have to continuously rebuke him now because he keeps trying to tell me,
Always.
oh, it's going to come back. And I rebuke
Always.
and bind him in the name of Jesus. And
Yes.
even if it did, God healed me once, he can heal me again.
It's not
So,
though. If you
it's
believe
not.
and stand on that and know that you are healed, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Because that's what I believe. There's no coming back for me. There's no like he said, who the son is set free is free indeed. There's no coming back. I
Yeah.
refuse to have the enemy even have him think that he's coming. No, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
So on that note, girl, I love you so much. Thank you
You
so much
too.
because here on TikTok they show you how much time you got left before they gonna cut it off.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't
Well,
know that until that just popped up. I was like, wait a minute, you got how many minutes I got left? But that's all right though. We still got it all out. We got it all out. So ain't
yes, we
nobody mad but
do.
the devil because we got it all out anyway.
All right. Well, I love you and thank you so much for having me.
I love you too, girl, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye bye. Thank you.